skilled trade, even though somebody in your building might have 20 years seniority, but you got somebody that has worked in that trade for 30 years. Now they got more value than you. That seniority has nothing to do with skilled trade. So the problem now is you haven't, like Naphtali was talking about, was being mistreated. And mistreatment over value and degrees and merit, these things are, you can't weigh. That's why people were walking off. That's what she's talking about. When you can't weigh value, when you're talking about integrity, talking about your dignity, you're talking about things of loyalty, those things sometimes don't matter in a job. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. When it comes to nurses and teachers, sometimes you can write your own check coming in based off of degrees, based off of those things of worth. But sometimes that doesn't matter when it comes to things of seniority, but based on value and based on degrees. These things are worth of merit. So when Trump said, make America great again, that didn't have anything to do with imports and exports, because America started making their own things. Yes, some things were import, export, but other things America started making themselves. So, Asar, when you was talking about how everything moved out of America and went somewhere else, did you not hear him talk about everything coming back to America? That's what was going to make it great again. I'm not a Trump supporter, but I'm a listener. And when we both talking, one of us can't listen. And so these are the things when senators say you a Trump supporter, he like putting cables on your back because he want to hear what you got to say. Senator is a great chess player. You gotta
She know about.
you gotta pay attention. You have to pay attention, right? So you can't talk when he talking. You got to be quiet. You have to listen very carefully. Sometimes y'all like to overtalk these sisters and you don't want to hear what they got to say. That's why sometimes you don't want a woman. Well, I listened to yesterday's conversation and I asked what or how is revenge best served? It's served cold. It's the dish best served cold. Why is that? Because if you are on revenge, that meant you had a problem. And anytime you have a problem in your relationship and you got to get revenge, that's a problem in your communication. And anytime somebody say it's something you did and now I got to get you back, I'm getting you back the coldest way possible.
All right.
I wanted to make a statement.
Hold on. Thank you. Misunderstood. You got the floor next.
Thank you. So I agree with a lot that's being said. I just think that there's more. Like I hear the sister talking about, the things and the programs and stuff like that. My only problem with things like that with programs is that it kind of, when I see a lot of times it makes people stuck because they become afraid to lose benefits. They become afraid to earn too much because their benefits are going to get cut off. I think that we also have to think about, okay, we're going to include programs and we talk about welfare and all this kind of stuff. Great. But what about taking business classes? And I think we need to speak more about entrepreneurship so we can determine what we make. And a lot of times we don't learn how to think outside the box. We kind of think about what another person's going to give us, whether it's a job or whatever. How do we make our own money and create our own finances? I think as a Black woman, I have to work extra hard because I already know what society thinks of me, right? So, and not every Black woman is on public assistance. I've never been on public assistance. However, there are some women that need it, but my only problem is, so when Donald Trump comes in, like I said earlier, and sets limits, right? Or you can't even be homeless now. You can, but there's nothing wrong with Donald Trump coming in saying, hey, you know what? There's a problem. Homelessness, there's a lot of violence and drug addiction on our streets. So our streets are not safe. And I say all that to say that I think when we start speaking about Trump and the things that he stands for, there's a lot of fear instead of looking at what he's trying to do. Why are the tariffs taking place right now? Why is he cleaning up our streets? I just think that there needs to be more. And the things that have been done before has not worked because I don't see anybody that came from impoverished family before all of a sudden have wealth, and generational wealth is that. So I do think that we need to be taught to think differently and do things a little bit differently, or we're going to be in the same rat race, we're going to be stuck. We're still going to be having the homeless problem. We're still going to have the problem with immigration. And I just think that we need to try something new.
Can I ask you a question, sister?
Hold on. No, hold on, man. Herman, you still there? Herman Smalls, going once, going twice, brother. Are you still there? Okay, Herman is not here. Let me give him the boot so other people could come in. And Genesis was next. And then I got you, Assault.
So the one thing I want to talk about, because I keep driving this thing home about the women that are, because we're only focused on, when we talk about welfare, we only talk about people that are uneducated, this, that, the other. But a lot of times people, when they lose their jobs, they end up on welfare, at least briefly, until they're able to find another job. Now, here's the thing. Now, if it comes that these people cannot find themselves a job, they've been working in the same thing for years on end, and they end up having a hard time finding employment, and they end up like in a situation where they can't pay their mortgage. Because if you look at the statistics, in 2024, 33% of single Black women was the percentage of women that bought homes. Okay, this is what I call a wealth transfer. Same thing that happened with the immigrants when they did those when they started to out the illegal immigrants out of the country. What happened to their houses? They got taken over by the government. What's going to happen to these Black women's houses when they can no longer pay their mortgage and they get kicked out of those houses? See, it's not just a matter. What's happening with this whole Trump administration is not just a matter of poor people being on welfare, not being able to, not being able to get their food stamps. I'm talking about also, we're getting rid of like HUD and Section 8, but what about people that actually own homes that at one point were living at least in the middle class? This is going to widen the gap of more poor people versus rich people. It's going to be harder to get back up, at least to it. It's going to reduce the middle class. And why do you think that they're trying to do this? Is it because they want a workforce that's getting paid less to increase the link between rich and poor? Are they really trying to create a caste system? I'm trying to understand it, because all those people they kicked out, now he's trying to bring them back and say, well, we want to bring the farmers back, but they're going to work for the government and be farmers. So are they trying to get people off things and then you have to come back at a lesser rate? So I'm just trying to understand what is the end game here. Now, if anybody knows Trump's laws or what he's trying to do with this 2025, I'm trying to understand what is the goal here. Because I get it with AI, but I mean, if you've been working 20 years in health and human resources, it's going to be hard to transition and become an AI expert. And to be quite honest, a lot of jobs that are going to exist in AI, when they come out with the new AI is rapidly improving. They're not going to need those jobs in AI. Because AI, it's going to eventually be self-sufficient. And to be quite honestly, a lot of these companies that run the AI are running it at a deficit. If you actually do the research, all these AI companies are $1 billion in debt. So really
All right, Genesis. Neftali, I don't see your hand, so I'm going to let you go right after Suntan, and then you can come in what you got. Suntan, let's go, brother. What you want to talk about, man? Good to see you.
Peace to the panel, and peace to all the young ladies and my brother Sar and brother Roy.
Now that Trump is trying to stop government assistance, what will the Black woman do, Suntan?
Well, here's the thing. As the young ladies were saying, you have to conditionalize your mind to be able to go out, set a goal, and do it. It's plain and simple, because Trump is divisive, right? He thinks as a class of people. He's putting everybody in a category, right? So it's up to us, the individual, to make ourselves available to the category that we want to be in. We don't need nobody to hand us nothing. Now, if you want to sit there and wait on some bread, that's on you. But my thing is this: Trump is very divisive, and in the back of his mind, white supremacy stands strong. When you sit there and watch how he operates, and on some of the things I agree with him with. I agree with him on some of his issues. The one that I'll say, so you don't think that I'm you know, hanging on the fence. Only thing I agree with him on is ladies, men fighting ladies and men and lady sports and these sorts of things like that, because I do not believe in that right there. Man is a man. He ain't got no business boxing no lady. But far as the financial thing goes, we have to individualize ourselves, point at a goal and go do it. Because I'm going to tell you, a lot of people say, well, I'm going to wait on the Lord. You can sit there and wait on the Lord all you want, but if you don't get off your butt, there ain't nothing happening. You know, you got to go out here and make it happen. Set a goal. Don't worry about your backup. Go for that goal that you set. And we all have a mind to do it. So I say like this here, I give y'all just one little bit of my life. I was a street guy, out in the streets making money when I was young, getting high, doing all of this sort of stuff. It got hot, and everybody know what I'm talking about. So I decided, and I had a son at 43. That's first kid. So I said, I got to bail out because the temperature got really, really hot, right? So what I did was went to school, because I always went to school, and I learned heating, cooling, and plumbing, learned it in the streets. And right now I'm 65, and I eat good off of the trade that I learned. So that just lets you know that an individual can do what he want to do if he got a mindset to do it. Right? Don't keep yourself in a box. Come out of the box and try something new. That's the only way that you're going to make it, because Trump don't really care about you. Trump care about dollars. And all his speech is about dollars. So with that said, the elephant in the room is the status quo. Okay? And everybody who's financially literate understand what I'm talking about. If you can't handle the status quo, you can't handle a substantial way of life in the United States of America. You got to have capital. You got to have some sort of background, a portfolio of things that you built, degrees. You know, you got to have a setup of what your portfolio looks like. Not to say, hey, this is what I've done. You got to put that right to work. So I ain't going to be too long-winded. It's all on this whole panel. It's within you. Look in the mirror and say, dang, what am I going to do? Sonetta built this whole thing. We need this, what he built, right? And he can keep his eye on the sparrow, because we're going to support him. That's all I'm saying. So find something that you like to do, because if you don't like doing it, you're not going to get nothing out of it. So don't just follow the Joneses. Find something that you like to do, stick with it, and I guarantee you'll get some results. That's coming from me, because I'm a
7 Assault. Let's go, 7 Assault.
Yeah, I just want to say to my sister Sakina Sarah, peace to you, Queen. I want to answer some of your questions, because you were saying about Donald Trump. What is his agenda? He only has two agendas: to be rich and powerful. Everything else he's throwing to the wall. Everything else he's playing off of. Is he a real white supremacist? Yeah, he has some racism, but he's ain't a hardcore white supremacist. He's just playing on white supremacy because it's politically advantageous for him. He's attacking slavery. I want to ask the sister in the top that was speaking on all the positive things that Donald Trump that she agrees with. Well, I agree with most of that stuff, but tell me, how do you feel about him occupying black cities with military? How do you feel about him calling slavery woke and DEI and wanting to remove that history from the federal natural museums and trying to eliminate talking about slavery as much as we do today? He wants to limit the speech on slavery when we're speaking on history in this country. How do you feel about him denigrating the legacy of African Americans in this country?
Who you asking that to, brother?
The sister next to the pie, I can't see her name. My phone.
Oh,
Misunderstood.
Seven,
Okay.
misunderstood.
Misunderstood. Sister misunderstood. Yes. Yeah, the queen. Yeah,
Oh,
yes,
okay.
ma'am.
So I did say that I don't agree with everything that Donald Trump is doing. I do think that it's problematic to make it seem as if it's only a Republican president that cares about power and prestige, because it's the Republicans and the Democrats. So I told you I taken it good and I spit out the bad. As far as what he said about the Smithsonian, I heard a clip, but where is he trying to wipe out slavery? I didn't hear him say
Well,
that.
he's already removed
Wait, but you didn't.
some history from one of the museums.
Hold up, hold up.
He's speaking about.
Seven,
Oh, I'm sorry.
seven.
I thought she was
Let
asking a
him
question. My apologies.
finish, brother.
I'm almost done. So he didn't take away the history. Do I think that presidents, not just Donald Trump, have watered down the history of slavery? I absolutely do. I think that is something that America is not willing to deal with. I know that when they asked President Obama about reparations, he said that blacks weren't ready for reparations. So I'm wondering, why do we start with Donald Trump when the problem started before Donald Trump? Is it a problem with Donald Trump? Yeah, if you haven't heard me speak, I've also spoke about DeSantis, even though I'm Republican. Why? Because he tried to glamorize slavery. So no, just because I'm for some of the things that Donald Trump is for, it stands for, as far as, like I said, the men and women's sports and things like that. I spoke about that. But when it comes to slavery and the things that you're asking me about, do I like the history watered down? No, but I think that we're going to tackle it. We have to tackle it harder, and not just with the Republican president, also with our Democratic presidents, who's also come against slavery, who also has made it. Blacks have not been a priority, and if Ms. Harris would have been in office, we would be in the same spot, because she's made it clear that she's not going to do anything for Black people.
Okay, let me
just say this 30 seconds real quick.
You did a great job.
I just want to say in 30 seconds that I agree with you wholeheartedly. Neither one of these parties have done nothing for Black people since the Emancipation Proclamation and the 14th, 15th, and the 16th Amendment. They haven't done nothing for us. All of these other laws that were created, everybody else benefited. So I agree with you, Democrat nor Republican. But Donald Trump is the president now. So we have to deal with the administration of now, not the ones who lied to us in the past. We know they all liars, but we continually have someone who's immediately and outrightly is attacking our community. So again, I say, sister, I know that you're saying that you don't agree with him, but do you agree that he's attacking Black communities? And we must all come together. I think we all must come together, regardless party, to hold on and to save our communities in our history.
Okay, so I picked the better of two poisons, but let me say this. You spoke about the military being in Black communities, but they're also in white communities. Because I live in California, and I went to a night, I went to Los Angeles in a suburban type area, and ICE was there. So what he's doing, if you're asking me if I have a problem with the military coming in because the local police didn't do anything, Border Patrol didn't do anything about illegal immigrants. When I'm sitting at the border, I did a blog by the border as people were coming in, and Border Patrol looked the other way. So if he had to use federal military, whatever, because the state wasn't doing their job, then that's what he had to do, and I'm all for that. And I don't consider policing any state. I consider
crime rate was at an all-time low, 30-year low rate in DC. Crime has been dropping precipitously. Excuse me, I can't say the word right now, but crime has been dropping in this country. We are at the lowest crime rate in history in this country. So all of those are talking points, because we don't need the military to come in to occupy these cities when we already have a police force where the crime rate is dropping. So those are political talking points. Sis, that's not actual. The people in DC overwhelmingly voting against Donald Trump, by white, Black, and brown. 80% of the people who opposed say they oppose of being occupied by Donald Trump. I land my plane there.
Donald Trump won the popular vote, and a Republican has not won a popular vote in over 20 years. So
people are regretting that vote. People are crying every day on TikTok regretting that vote.
Not everybody. Not everybody.
Okay, let me let
I said people.
Misunderstood's gonna park her car, and then I'm gonna move on to Brother Roy Bay.
Yes, sir. Thank you. First of all,
I got something I wanted
are
to
you
say.
done? Misunderstood.
I was just gonna say this. Crime has been lower. Donald Trump is doing what he needs to do. because there is a problem with immigration. It is a problem at the border. I'm not saying that it's perfect, but I am going to say the statistics you quoted has to do with what he's doing at the border. And if you look at the statistics, and you can't quote TikTok as your source because that's not a reliable source. You
I
have to
never
use
quoted TikTok
source.
as my source.
You're talking about
You didn't hear me say quote TikTok as no source. So don't represent what I said.
Okay, yeah. You did mention TikTok.
He did mention TikTok.
I said there's a lot of people on TikTok who regretted, who complain about voting for Donald Trump. Those were my exact words.
That's
And then she said, "Don't use TikTok." So she wants to finish, and then
Oh, okay. Well, that's a credible source for the complaints of some people. So
No,
if that's what you want to use as TikTok, people can't complain on TikTok. That's hilarious. You can't complain now, huh?
Oh boy.
I think that it's really important to quote actual statistics when we're talking about those things. I do not feel that Donald Trump is just policing Black communities when I also see him in white communities. Do I think that everything is perfect right now? No. But I also think that some things have improved and a lot of things need work. So please don't misquote me and over centralize what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you, Miss.
I also want to jump in whenever Nepal.
Yeah, you definitely can go after Brother Roy Bay. The mic is yours, Roy Bay, and then we'll move on to Sister Nathalie.
Yeah, thank you very much. Sister Nepal, so was it you or Sister Misunderstood who said earlier that I was kind of divisive? I'm not too sure which one it was.
No, I didn't say the divisive part. That was actually Sister Wise. She's no longer here.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, that's cool. That's fine. No problem. Listen, let me say this. So I have long had a lot of.
I brought up the because Seven was talking about the crime.
Right.
And I said who's doing the crime mostly, and that was what I said.
All right, cool. In terms of resentment, let me say this. I have for many years had a lot of resentment for brothers as well as sisters. My recent resentment for sisters is really relatively new, but I've had a lot more resentment for a longer period of time for brothers. And I've really have over the years expressed this to a lot of brothers. If you're in New York City right now, today's daily newspaper on the issue of crime in the inner cities. Her sister worked hard. She went to school. She graduated, got a PhD degree. On the day of her celebrating, her daughter comes back to the Bronx where I live at and gets shot in the darn head. Ah, come on, man. You see, this is why people are using these things to justify the implementation of National Guards in our community. So many children in New York alone have been killed by ricocheting bullets, gunshot by brothers. And it's ongoing. Bloods, Crips, Latin Kings, Neatas. So yeah, if you don't put a cap on this conduct in society, more innocent people and more victims will continue to lose their lives. So yeah, I kind of support what's going on, and it's sad and unfortunate, but it is what it is. Now, I want to go back to one point I want to make, because a lot of sisters think I be getting on them. He don't like us. He hate Black women. No, the vast majority of help that I received in my life have really came from sisters. Brothers have not helped me to the extent that most sisters have. If I got a problem right now and I need help, chances are more than likely I'm probably going to pick up the phone and try to call a sister, because these are the people who have long helped me. Now, that is set aside from my gripe with them. You know, I'm not saying all sisters are going to look out for a brother or I'm going to look out for them, but I'm just simply saying from my godmother, women in my family on down, you know, these are the guys who have really been there helping me over the years and holding me down. The brothers, my resentment for them, when just watch tomorrow morning, whatever city you in, just watch tomorrow morning, or even like before the pandemic, you would see a lot of sisters at the bus stops getting on trains headed down to work. They go to work, they come back from downtown or wherever they work, head back home. It's the same brothers on a street corner sitting on a mailbox, playing a boombox radio, you know, smoking weed, yelling and screaming in the streets. I'm not saying it's just them. There's some sisters with them too. But over the many years in passing, it has been a lot of us who has brought about this ugly demise that has made our communities look bad. Now, getting back to what my brother said, A lot of the sisters are the most enrolled in college on paper, but not the most graduated. This is why the other communities outflank them when it comes to this whole the most educated demographic. And that's a talking point as well, my brother. That's a talking point too. So, you know, the elephant in the room, we should look at the Jews, the Chinese, and what they did back in the days when they was being outcast from the American economy. They started their restaurants and all that good stuff. And they got together, and as a means, they were able to be successful and progressive with their restaurant businesses. We have, I don't know, how should I call it, a hell-bent reliance on white America and their economy. But we have not formed a Tulsa or Rosewood in a long time. And I think, honestly speaking, I think we're afraid to do that. I think we are scared to unify our dollar on the premise that we think if we unify our dollar, white America is going to get upset and come attack us. I think that's the case.
That,
I think it is largely time
that's
and
it.
time overdue. Okay, after these conversations, look at what China has done. 20 years time when Bill Clinton was president, he was in office. China said something to Taiwan. The United States sent her navy over to Taiwan. I mean, to China, and China backed down. They got quiet. They formed their own thing. They built up their army. They put their people to work. They're forming their own currency. It is time for us to travel the world and look at which outlets we can plug into economically, socially, and politically. It is time that we establish friendships in all walk of life. Stop relying on the United States of America. Her dollar is in trouble. And here we are right now arguing over her fallen dollar. All right. So we have an opportunity right now, y'all. We have an opportunity to really look at this thing, not so much just from a national perspective, but an international one. And a lot of people worldwide are waiting to receive us. Just think for a second. If we took the scholarship we've gained in the United States and what that knowledge that we got can benefit other societies and how they could benefit us. We don't have to rely on America. America will better pay close attention to our people with more regard and respect, fear as well. But once we start getting on these airplanes and we start talking to other governments, seeing how we can set up international trade and commerce. Listen, Elijah Muhammad did it when the Nation of Islam was selling fish sandwiches. Okay, Elijah Muhammad had it set up with the country of Japan. They were doing business with Japan. And of course, the government here got highly upset and threatened to put sanctions and embargoes on Japan if they continue to do business with so-called black folk in America. Our problem, by and large, is not even social or gender wars. It is economics. We have a lot of money, and our dollar is not united. All we do is divide ourselves with it, but we need to bring whatever little bit of dollars we got and do something with it. People are waiting to respect us. We are just not respecting ourselves. The power is in the dollar. The scholarship is great. The lectures are great. But if we don't have a unified dollar, we just going to be some wandering Negroes, so-called Negroes in the United States of America, still begging and still arguing over white folks' power. We got the power. Let's go before the world as the Arabs did after Prophet Muhammad ibn Abdullah. The Arabs came forth, and now they became known as the foremost runners in a lot of their achievements. We can do the same thing, and we know we can do it, and we've been talking this talk for a long time. There's no need for us to continue on and having discussions as such when we know the power is with us. The only one that is in our way is us, and we are the problem and the solution. That's it.
Thank you very much, Brother Roy Bay. And now I see you, Sakina. We're going to let Naphtali. She's been waiting, and then I'll follow up with you, Sakina, and then Elder Suntan. So, Naphtali, go ahead. You wanted to speak?
Yes, Nepal, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And like I said, so to my sister, Genesis, you had mentioned some things. You were talking about, it's been a while. Let me get my thoughts together. Let me not even address you because I can't even really remember all of what you were saying. But the brother Roy, who just was speaking, you all were pretty much talking about it. What are we going to do if we all band together? And the thing is that Trump, it's good that he is in office because unfortunately, Black people, we do get ourselves together once we, are under great oppression. Now, the brother who was speaking, Seven Asar, you were talking about TikTok and how people are making, talking about the crime rate and all this stuff in Washington, D.C. Well, if you look at the videos that are on TikTok, we see a lot of foreigners are actually being told not to come to the Americas because they say it's dangerous here. And they made fun of Donald Trump, saying that the murder rate and the crime rate in Washington is so bad and so high that they're telling people not to come. Now, this is a federal government. This is a federal capital. You mean to tell me you can't get your capital government under control? It's unsafe there. So yeah, that's why Donald Trump is doing that, because he's trying to make himself look like he's in charge when the crime rate is high in DC, unfortunately. I'm in St. Louis. He needs to bring them here. Now, also, my brother Roy wants to talk about the Chinese and how and what they're doing. Well, right now, if you know, they have something called the Asian American Pacific. They have something called the Asian American Foundation. What is that? That is something that is specifically targeting Asians here in America, where they give themselves resources. It's a pipeline from high school to college. They get a job, they get all of that. And that's something that is specifically targeted only to Asians that they have here. So if you want to talk about why are Asians have all these degrees and all of that, that's because they support themselves. And like you were saying, Black people, if we were to stop including all people and just focus only on Black people, then yeah, we probably would be in a better state. And that's the thing is we need to start focusing on each other and not including everybody like the NAACP, all colored people. What is all colored people? We need to just focus only on Black people. And I vote.
All colored people, huh?
That was a great point, Naphtali.
Oh, I was muted. Okay. I don't know. I was going to see if you wanted to respond, but if not, I can move on to the sister Sakina. She's waiting. Do you want to quickly respond, Brother Roy Bay?
Yeah, that was an excellent point he made.
Well, listen, I mean, because I
was going to move on to Sakina, but if you didn't want to.
The Asian bill that the sister made reference to is true indeed. But what I was talking about, hold on a second. Hold on.
Okay, well, you're going to be there for...
No, I'm here. Listen.
Go ahead.
What I was talking about originally was not this recent Asian bill. I was speaking to a history that came out of, I would probably say, the 1950s and 1960s with regard to that same community, way before that bill even came about. They were trying to push a lot of the Chinese out of the American economy at that time. And they formulated together, to survive. It was a survival tactic at first, and they set up these Chinese restaurants. All right. Later, the Chinese restaurants proved to be quite successful because it employed their people. And I'm saying, we need to look at mantras like that from Jews, from Chinese, and other community groups and see what they have done to be economically successful. And we can duplicate that, and we can go on to have the same level of success, so we can stop begging all day, crying about, white folk dollars. Do you know right now, we are 160 years behind white America economically. 160 years. That's a long way to catch up. But I'm going to tell you, I believe you can catch that by unifying your dollar. And again, a lot of us are scared to do that because we don't trust each other. And we're afraid that if we get too close to each other, we're going to upset masters somewhere and they're going to come down on us. This is the European psychology that is embedded in the mindset of so-called Black America. But we can still have progress. We have enough knowledge already, but we appear to be a people that we can't seem to do a darn thing economically with ourselves collectively with all this great deep knowledge that we got. We have a tendency to get in front of cameras and we know all the right things to say, and we do it quite often. But once we go outside and we see our people in the streets, the men and women that look just like us, right away we go back into Negro mode, Negro thinking. Okay, he's the enemy, she's the enemy. And we start quietly, psychologically pointing fingers, and it hurts us. It hurts our children, it hurts our men, it hurts our women. So if you want to talk about the nuclear family, Well, I'm gonna tell you, this nuclear family thing that we're making reference to, it ain't gonna survive without no nuclear dollars. Money makes the world go round, and we have over 100 billion, I believe, in so-called. Well, if it's that much, I could be over exaggerating with that. But we have a lot of money, okay, so our money is not being pooled the right way. So it's all gonna come down to us trusting each other, putting this money together, so we can start, sister, making our own bills for each other, writing our own laws. We've been in politics for a long time in America, but we've been in compromise politics in America. We've not been in, this strong, independent politics. We've always had to go to them and rely on their money. Same with Dr. King and them. They was fighting over the white man's $600,000 back in the 1960s, and that group called the Big Six and the civil rights organizations. We have to break away from their dollar and their infrastructures, form our own here and abroad. Let's go and let's start talking to other governments. Do you know how many people are waiting to receive so-called Black America worldwide? No, we are constipated in this country with their ideas. Okay, we are domesticated because we don't travel enough. We got passports. You want to go to Jamaica, you go to Bahamas, but you don't go on political trips for economic gain. And this is the real problem that we are having. And again, you are the problem and the solution, not Trump's administration, not the troops. The biggest problem is really us and our lack of unification. And we don't want to adhere to these large principles because, again, we are afraid of white America. Can we all agree upon that much? Are we afraid of white America as to why we don't unify dollars? Are we afraid to build Tulsa again? I
Oh,
believe
that's
we are.
facts.
Okay.
Yeah, the terrorization of them. Yes.
Thank you, Seven. Thank you, Brother Bay. Thank you, Queen Naphtali. Now we're going to move on to Queen Sakina. Thank you for waiting so patiently. I know the brother wanted to respond. So go ahead.
Thank you so much, Sister Paul. And with
And
that,
I see you, Elder Cynthia.
and I want to elaborate a little bit, but I also want to, because I don't know Natalie that well, but I want to begin where Brother Roy ended, because it does begin and end with her for the solution, because I do know she teaches on science like you, Nepal, and I do know that she's a mother, and I also know that y'all said that she was a businesswoman, entrepreneur, whatever it is. But again, when I said skilled trade, this was Elder Suntan. And this is where us as women, we came under affirmative action. Now, some of us said that affirmative action was for the white women. But in order for the white woman to get in, that's where Black women had came in afterward, right? Because we knew that skilled trade was something that men had got into for industrial work. Women wasn't working industrial work. They couldn't, right? Not until affirmative action, right? But up until then, we had to go to school. So that was what we called career-based degrees. So yes, men were in school and women were too. But again, what kind of jobs did we have? Naphtali spoke on that. So I don't have to get into that, but I could if I wanted to, right? In some of those skill-based jobs, we might have still couldn't get in based on what? Seniority, or we had to have that competition with men up until what? Affirmative action, right? That didn't get us those skill-based jobs, right? Like suntan, but it did get us into business. That's where I'm at. So we can reap what we sow, right, suntan? I didn't work hard as you, but I worked smart as you. That's what Natalia's telling you, Brother Roy, right? So now we have those two things we working off as merit-based, retirement. This is what one of the other sisters, as well as DJ Genesis and Nepal, was talking about. See, Naphtali talking from a businesswoman, and Elder Suntan, you're talking from industrial skilled work. These were the two things I was talking about, the difference. One was skill-based, and the other was career-based. So again, when she felt like her worth, her integrity, her mindset is different, right? Once I was a manager for people, we were doing selling over the phone. These things come up on the computer 2 seconds. with the name and everything before the phone answers. The most way that you can disrespect somebody is to call their name out wrong. You'll lose that whole phone call. You'll lose that whole sale. Right? This is the problem I have right now in Kemet because of the names. You have to know that. You have to know the names. You have to know the dates. You have to know the time. And if you disrespect the name of an ancestor, you have disrespected that ancestor. Those are the things I was raised on. Why I respect every teacher, including Nepal.
Thank you. I appreciate
Right?
you.
And I have to give it to Neptali because she knows science. But right now she's a mother and she's a businesswoman. So to sit in that chair, y'all calling capital money. Capital ain't the White House in Washington, D.C. Capital is money. And when you get in certain positions, when you reach the cap, that's high as your dollar gonna go. Otherwise, you have to do what Neptali did. Create your own business so that you can become the capitalist. And open up your own business and start to make other people jobs. That is supply and demand. What is the demand that the area that you got? What do they need? That is called the demand. So if they need food, you said the prophet made fish sandwiches, but he had to get the fish. The prophet went and got the fish from Japan to make sandwiches. So now he done gave up some of his profit to the people that served, that brought him the fish. So he made a profit and then he had to pay out in order to see what he gained.
Thank you, Sakina.
So again, that's the bottom line. Right? You have to know the business. Because America is a corporation. That's the business. That's why it has an IRS. That's why it has an EEOC. That's why it had an EIO or EOI. This is why all these departments exist, because of delegation. You have to delegate it, right? So even in your marriage, if you don't know that, duality, it delegated. And sometimes a wife don't need to know, because what was understood didn't have to be explained.
Thank you, Queen.
I rest. Thank you so much for letting me.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much. And we're moving on to Elder Suntan. He had his hand up, and then Genesis wanted to go afterwards.
Real quick, what I need everybody to understand is we're not only that we're in a capitalized society. It's a thing whereas the trap, you guys, have already been set. You understand? And it's deeper than we might imagine. While a reparation option is there, people would just take money than to take mental health. See, we've been scarred mentally through all of our subjugation, and we've been made a stigma of. So as Black people, we got a couple of things to come out of, and I preach to you and I tell you that we got to understand that we're still in this trap that has been set. And sure enough, I look on my phone, and I hope y'all can see this. Y'all see that?
Now we see it, $1,700 stimulus. Yeah.
And I'm doing this to say this: we're being spoon-fed a right to survive when we can make it on our own. So without a whole lot of words, it's within you, because even a good book will tell you I'm not a so-called Christian. I'm just a spiritual person. And I would tell you that book, the spiritual book, the Bible, is good because it has a direction. It's like a bridle, like a horse has a bridle in his mouth, and he's guided by the bridle. And the Bible is a bridle. It guides you. So in that book I read one day, the greater he that's in you than he that's in the world, Christ said in that book that he was once in the world, but he wasn't a part of it. And I'm saying this to say you got to be bridled by the inspiration of making it, because you understand your suppression. You got to understand your suppression. The trap is already set, and a lot of us has wiggled out of it, and we still wiggling. So don't look for this society to help you out. Make it out yourself, because you can. And you're intelligent enough to do it. And I would stress on find something that you like doing, because you'll get more out of it. Don't follow the Joneses. And again, I'm going to say it one more time. This is within you to make it out this situation, because the carrot is going to be dangled in front of us for the rest of our life. So if you want to be the donkey who keep walking and trying to bite that carrot, that's on you. Because I'm in a position, well, I'm not going to judge nobody. Just I have my personal judgment of you, but I'm not going to come down on the brothers and the sisters, because that's the first thing we do. Oh, this nigga stupid, man. This blah, blah. That's the first thing you say, but you still don't understand the mental suppression that we've been under for all of these years, and we still under it. And I'm going to leave on this one right here. The white man have got creative. He's not so creative, he just devious. And the white man, people say, but that is the elephant in the room, because they started their conquest with the invention of the gun. And they didn't get it for us. They didn't get it for black people. They got it for each other. Because back in Europe, back in antiquity, they would come and rob each other, because in the wintertime over in Europe, you couldn't grow no food. You know, so it was every man for himself. So they developed the gun through the Eurasians, and they took the gunpowder from there, and they made this device called the gun. And after they kept it off each other, they say, hey, let's go conquer the world. And so I'll leave it there. Through divisive chains, that's how we are living right now. We're in a trap. So let's just wiggle on out of it, because we started at the end of the race. But look at us now. Look at this panel. Look at Nepal. Look at everybody on this panel got something to live for. SAR 7, very intellectual, very smart. So we got it, you know. And Nepal, you keep teaching, okay? Because you got listeners. That's all I need to say.
Thank
and
you.
Not followers. You don't need followers. You just need somebody.
Wait, what?
I'm gonna
Don't listen to Suntan. I need followers.
I'm going to say this right here.
I'm just kidding.
And it's been said throughout our time. Why give a hungry man, to say, here, man, here go a fish? Why do that? Where you could tell that same hungry man, say, come here, sit next to me. This is how you catch it.
Yeah.
So that's what we need to do. Let's go out and catch some fish. Let's start at home, catch our own fish. Then I could come to Nepal, or I could come to SAR, say, look what I got. You know? I rest.
Drop a bomb for you. Thank you so much, Elder Suntan, for that wisdom. I do want to I know it's late, but I want to throw something in here and hear from the whole panel. I appreciate all of you. Would you say that because what you said about us, look where we are now, is it fair to say that as the progeny of people who have been trafficked, you know, the slave trade, people that we are the descendants of them, do you think we not getting that 40 acres and a mule, you think we didn't get a fair shake on it, or what? You think we should we just keep trying and go for the American dream, or is I got to talk about reparations. Is that a legitimate conversation that we didn't get a fair step up like a lot of other people have gotten in the past? You're bringing up the Jews, the Japanese Americans that were in the internment camps. I will go to Genesis, and then I'm going to go to Misunderstood to down the list. 7, Naphtali, and then Sakina. So, because that's what I can see across the the screen. So Genesis, what do you think about that? Sure, it's the American dream and capitalism and all that good stuff, but do you think we got a late start? Everybody else got ahead of us in the race, and we deserve something.
I would say this. Now, my view on reparations is very controversial. I say this: if Massa was up in the quarters and was getting it in, he's your ancestor. Okay, so whatever he owns, you need to find out who Massa was. If you have a last name Brown and Jackson and whatever, you need to find out who your cousins are and how they live, and find out exactly who that slave master was that was giving it in, and get some money off of that family, because that's your great 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 granddad. And if they making money and they passing down generational wealth, and you guys are cousins, and you're entitled to something. For us to ask the government to do that, I think it's a waste of time, you know. But the main reason why I wanted to like actually make a point is that there's a group called Return to the Land that's in Arkansas, and they have a whole land, I think 100-something acres out in Arkansas. Where is our return to the land? I know we're afraid that they're going to come, because I think they're on TikTok. Well, when we did it, they came and did it. But why can't we come together and get some land out in Arkansas, Arizona, whatever, and actually begin to till that land and come together as a group and do this type of a thing? Why is it that, we are, because the first thing I hear is everybody dogging out this group rather than putting together a group ourselves and say, well, you know what, let's get back to our initial ideal of getting land, tilling the land, coming together, divvying up the property lines, and then when this stuff goes down, we can have farmers to work that land, and we got our own crops. I don't understand why we don't have that mindset, because we're afraid to work together or get screwed over by each other. I don't know. That was one of the biggest things that I saw about that, is that people, instead of us like actually saying, well, dang, we need to do the same thing and get back to that mindset, we were just steady talking about how they were whack doing this, doing that on, when I saw it. Another thing I wanted to also make a statement of is TikTok itself. Okay. Cause I went into tariffs about China tariffs and stuff. Back earlier in the year, TikTok had a $5.8 billion sales of goods on the TikTok shop. Now they're trying to ban TikTok now, and they put tariffs. Okay. But at one point, people were making a lot of money online using the TikTok method, with the importing of goods. Now the tariffs have happened, and that, has probably gone down. I'm not sure, but I just want to know by people. Okay, so when we talk about like even traveling overseas, going to different countries, and this, that, the guy said we need to travel. If you travel, you're going to have some kind of funds, because like because they're not going to hire you for a job if you go over to Africa and try to live there. You're going to have to like be making money over here and sending it over to wherever you're going to live at. If you go to Mexico or whatever, and I know this for a fact, there's plenty of people that's over there that be asking me to give them money over where they're at. So I'm saying is that even if we do decide to like go to another country or to travel and do this other thing, how do we sustain ourselves?
Wow, that's a deep question. I don't know. We're going on almost 3 hours. I want you to hold your thought. Anybody who wants to answer that, I'm moving on to misunderstood. If you could address whatever you want to address, and also the question I had, like, do you think we got a late start, and do you see us, getting or being able to get something because of that late start? And maybe you want to answer Genesis' question as well. Misunderstood. The mic is yours. You're muted.
Sorry about that. Genesis had a question. Oh, okay, let me say this. If I miss your question, Genesis, feel free to ask me. But
I was asking why. I asked 3 questions. One, why can't we start our own return to the land? Why can't we come together, go get some land, divvy it up by acreage, and then like till the land like these other people are doing, like in Arkansas? That's number one. Number 2 is, with people saying we need to like leave the country and this other stuff. Well, most people I know that leave the country are still reliant on American dollars, because you're not going to be able to get a job over in that country. They're not going to hire you. You're going to have to get money from America and then ship it over there. That's number 2. Okay. And then I talked about the TikTok shop and how people were making billions of dollars on that shop, but then that got cut. How do people say, well, you lost your job, start a business? Well, if this is the thing, we're being attacked business-wise, how can we still sustain ourselves?
Okay, we don't have the capital to start our own land. Until we get the capital, we won't get very far. As far as moving to other countries, we still need resources, and it takes a lot of work. We can make it within the country if we embrace the culture. But it's interesting that other people want us to embrace their culture when they don't come to the United States embracing our culture. And as far as TikTok, that's a whole other conversation. That's pretty loaded. Now, I do want to say this. There was something that was said as far as Black women are educated, but we don't have the most degrees, or we don't finish college, whatever. I find it interesting because how can you say that a Black woman doesn't finish college when she holds the highest number of bachelor's and doctorate and advanced degrees? So therefore, if she holds the highest number of bachelor's, she must have completed college. As a whole, Blacks are not the most educated. The Black woman is the highest educated, the highest degree earning, right? When you take race, gender, when you put us as far as the Black woman, we are. Now, that's not to put the Black man down, but the statistics are what they are. Black women do earn the highest amount of degrees. Asians are the highest group to graduate, and then whites. But if you take out, but that's when you include the men and the women. If it's just the woman, then the Black women host the highest number of degrees. You can look it up. I didn't make it up. And for us to be a small group, you got to take it per capita, but that's what the numbers are. Okay. Now, when it comes to reparations, that's complicated because I think that we're forgetting that reparations is a debt that's owed. It was something that was promised after the war, and that was held up by the Supreme Court. And the only reason it was reversed was because Andrew Johnson paid the former slave owners reparations instead of the slaves. And since when do the losers win profits from the war? So that I think that's what we have to remember. So as far as a debt, that was a debt that was not paid, and Black wealth was stolen through the years. So when you look at it as a debt owed and not something that's given to you, then Blacks are owed that, certain Blacks. And I think that it's kind of sad that we haven't gotten paid out, but we won't, because as a group, we don't agree that Blacks are deserved reparations. And they are, because those Black dollars have kept the white percent wealthier. And if you just look at what was owed and what was stolen, then you will see that Blacks clearly are owed reparations.
That's right. You hit it on the head right there. That is exactly right. And I like that you showed the history of that it is actually a debt. If we want to take that angle, then that strengthens our position. Thank you for that input. Is there something else you wanted to say? I had to drop a bomb for that one.
I wanted to land it there because I think that is really important to look at it that way. That was how, when the general asked those 20 Black men, how did they want to get paid for serving in the war? They said they wanted those acres of tillable land. And that was a landmark decision. That was wealth, and that wealth was granted, but it was stolen and paid to former slave owners.
Yes, it was stolen, and here we are today, talking about welfare, and can we get together? What is it? 1,200 years? No, what am I tripping? 1800. When did slavery end, y'all? Officially. Anybody?
1965. Are you talking about after? You talking about when did it end, or when did it end in Texas? Like for all of us?
For Texas, in Texas. Officially. Well, you know what? Slavery's still going if we talk about Antoinette Hurrell. But I mean on the books. When was it after Juneteenth? It
was 1865. 1865.
But you got to remember, Juneteenth came.
It was 1865.
Well, everybody wasn't free, so technically it was 1865. But then if you take into Juneteenth, it was years later.
That's when those later slaves found out that they were free. But yeah, you're right. Technically, legally, they were free.
Dr. Antoinette Hurrell, she goes around to this day. There are people who are still living. That's a whole different conversation. It's so heartbreaking. But yes. Thank you for that input. Misunderstood. And you know what? This will be our going around closeout. So because we've been on here a while, I don't want to take up all of your evenings. Thank you. Genesis, Misunderstood 7, please go ahead and add your input.
Yeah, I was going to say, where the other brothers at? Was there a game on I didn't know about or something?
No. Got Elder Suntan here, and he loves sports.
Yes, yes, he
Right.
does. Um, yeah, I was just being funny, but to add on to that sister's build, 60% of America's economy was the cotton industry. 60% off
Yeah,
of free labor,
I
free.
gotta get that bone.
So to say something is owed to the descendants of those slaves is an understatement, right? And
Anyway,
then you look at the 200 years of that. And once we were frayed, how many years of Reconstruction does anybody know how many years of Reconstruction that we were afforded after that 200 years of terrorism, enslavement, rape, and tyranny during slavery? How many years of Reconstruction does anybody know?
I
Not
don't know. We
offhand.
can look it up. The Reconstruction era. You
It
just
was
named
12. It was 12.
12.
12 years. They gave us 12 years.
Dang.
And it was and the reason why we got 12 is because white people were fed up with equalizing. Black people were winning elections. Black Wall Streets were spurring up all over the community. Like the brother of Roy Bay was saying, we had created economic strongholds during this time.
Yeah,
And
that's good.
we were building our communities at a speed and a rate that not only was something that showed how great we were, but vastly astonishing to the white communities that were surrounding us, because we were oppressed for 200 years. And with
Mhm.
that small time frame, we had built universities, communities, economies. You understand what I'm saying? And the Great Compromise of 1877 is what ended that for us, right? And that's when we were ushered into Jim Crow for nearly 90 more years,
Mm.
right? For us to fight for civil rights, fair housing, fair education, and all of that to be in 2025. The only thing left is a minimal version of the Civil Rights Act. So when we talk about um, what are we going to do about reparations? Yes, it's owed to us, but also what are the solutions for us now? We need to start speaking on solutions, right? Because I think one of the first things for us to hold the economic power, if we were to create one, we have to create a defense mechanism, and it has to start politically first. We have to politically empower ourselves so we can start protecting our communities when they are being attacked. So then we can physically empower ourselves to justifiably stand when we have political power, if we choose to stay here. That's one of the things. And the only thing that we can accomplish any of that first is we have to unify. We have to set aside our religious disagreements. We have to set aside any political disagreements. And we need to come together as a community to survive and to thrive and not be stuck in that pigeonhole that Dr. Claude Anderson had predicted for us. So I think that it is important for us to not give up on reparations, but also actively seek our own economic power outside of that fight. And I'll land my plane there. And
Thank
peace to everybody on the panel.
Thank you so much, Seven Asar, for your input. Moving right along to Sister Naftali. Please, if you can hear me, Naftali, go ahead and let's hear your final words, please.
Yes, you know, it was great being on here. This was a great discussion. I actually learned a lot, listening to different point of views. But, you know, to talk about to let me back off of what you were saying, Nepal, about reparations. As far as Black people, as far as my FBAs and reparations, we at first need to establish who the foundational Black Americans are. Who are the Negroes, right? We have to first establish that. Who are the Negroes? And then each Black ethnic group needs to be paid accordingly. Meaning, like the Dominicans, they need to be paid from the Spanish and the French. And I also would like for my Haitians to be repaid from the French, because the Haitians had to actually pay the French reparations. So I would like to make sure that we fight for the Haitians to be repaid. So the first thing we all need to do is if one group gets paid, we need to make sure the other group gets paid. We all need to support each other. We then need to ensure that all countries that participated and benefited from off of our slavery repays us accordingly. And Africa needs to be made to give us land or give us money as well, because their hands are covered in blood too. So that's what I have to say about that.
Okay, I just want to ask you, who's going to determine who is foundational? That's the issue. Can you give us an idea? Like, just because I've had a conversation with a couple of the FBA different people, and they all have different ideas about who will be the determining group. Who's going to determine who's foundational Black? Do you know? Do you have an idea?
Well, the thing is,
I'll get to you, Suntan.
Okay, Elder Suntan, I'd love to hear your opinion on that.
No. I want to hear from you for a minute, just from you. You don't. If there's no right or wrong answer, I just want to pick your brain on who you think so far, when you've been thinking about it, who's going to be able to put together the standards of who is foundationally Black.
Well, the same way that
it's not a trick question.
It's not a trick. I don't feel tricked, and I don't feel defeated.
Okay, no, I want to hear from you, because you know what, I've already talked to 2 people and they have different answers. So I want to hear from you now. Well, who would do that?
All right, well, let's just go back. We're going to go back to first. There is something called an Afro-Latina, right? And then there is something called we have Black. I can't be an Afro-Latina. I can't also be a West Indian, or what you would consider to be a Caribbean. My Jamaicans, I can't, I'm not them. And then there's also my sisters and brothers that are my Black Hispanics. I can't be them. So we know the ones that we all know our backgrounds, and we know where we're limited and where we are. That's how we can determine. So like I said, we have, I'm from the South. My family is from the Mississippi, and they migrated up here to St. Louis, to the Midwest. Everybody got their stories. Everybody knows how far back we go. But first, we got the sub-Saharan. So if you sub-Saharan of Africa, that's number one. You have to be sub-Saharan of Africa, number one to begin. Then number two, like I said, we got our Afro-Latinas. That's one segment. Then we also got my Caribbeans. That's another segment. And then we got my FBAs, who are the ones that we are the ones that are foundationally here from America, which is from the South. And, a lot of us know a lot of our people come from Mississippi. A lot of our people originate from that region of the land. So that's how we can establish what an FBA is. I hope I was a little thorough with that.
No, thank you for that. Now, I want to and I know you sent Suntan, because this is Sonetter and I had this conversation with a couple people. He joined the panel again. But Naftali, what if this is the issue that I've heard them not align the different FBA people. What if you have people who are like different background parents? One person's parents, they're on their mom's side is slave base from the African slave trade, the progeny of the slave trades ancestors, and then their dad though say he's Caucasian. So are they still foundationally Black? That's what I'm wondering. Like it's no right or wrong answer, but that's where I can't see where they're going to decide. How are they going to decide when we have people who are mixed, have mixed families?
That's why I would say they need to go back to the family and find out who their family is, and if there's money in that family with their great grandfather.
Okay.
And get your reparations from the the plantation that your family was on, and get your reparations there.
Right. And then I wanted to thank you, Genesis. And then Naftali, have you heard them say Native American is foundationally Black? Have you heard that argument, Naftali?
Sorry, I answered that.
Yes.
What? Okay.
Yes.
No. If you can't be no. This Native American thing, I can't say I'm Native American. And
Okay.
I would not. The thing is that I can't do it, and I don't expect us to do it. I can't take what they have. They have their own story, they have their own background, and they deserve what they deserve. You know what I'm saying? The word slave comes from the Slavs. That word comes from Slav. I just because it's a lot of people that have been enslaved, and my people, like I said, we have our story. Now, when you ask me about who is, when it comes to the mixed race, right? Biracials is pretty much what I'm getting from it. It all depends on what you marry, how you marry. If you marry back into black, then yeah, of course, you are building back in the community. You're going back into the black road. Now, if you are marrying out and going white, then no, I don't believe that you need to be paid any type of reparations, unfortunately. But if you marry back black, then yeah, why not?
Well, I learned last week that my family is from the Shinnecock Nation. So I learned that last week, that I am of the Shinnecock Nation. And whenever I learn something about myself, I'm proud of it. I ain't got nothing to hide. I love it. I'm happy that I found out about myself.
What is that?
I'm happy that I found out a little something more about my life.
What is it? What's
Native
Shinnecock?
American. Native
Native
American.
American.
Oh, and then what that means is, I know that when you are part of that Native American, that means you need to reach into their community, and then you deserve to receive.
I just learned about that, and I'm not reaching in the community to look for nobody. I don't care.
It wouldn't be anything wrong.
I don't care about that. I'm just saying I've learned that about my history. I don't give a damn about it. I'm not in it for no money. And yes, from Long Island. And guess what? My grandfather was buried in Long Island. He went right home and got buried right there in Long Island, where his people come from. So I'm proud of learning more about myself, and I don't give a damn about reparations. But for those of y'all who are fighting for it, more power to you, man. More power to you. I'm not taking that away from nobody.
Yeah. Elder Suntan.
If I get a piece of the pie, good. But I'm not fighting for it. I don't care.
It's looking less and less that you're gonna get some pie.
Yeah. Right. I don't care about none of that.
So, but thank you, Sonetta. That's awesome information. And
well, hold on, let me respond to what Sonetta just said, and then after that, I promise I won't say anything else.
Go ahead.
The reason why you're not really concerned about it, Sonetta, is probably because you feel content because your people were, they have received reparations. So you probably feel a little bit like, hey, you feel like it's been accomplished and well deserved and well earned. And I agree with you with that. Now, my people have not been, my great grandmothers and great grandfathers was out in the fields picking cotton. We were supposed to be told, we were supposed to be given land. We were supposed to receive those benefits. And right now, they were, if I don't pay my taxes, they're gonna try to take my house. I have, laws that I have to uphold. They need to uphold these laws and these, these agreements.
It's the
and they need to pay my people.
The same for us. We got to pay these taxes and uphold the laws.
That's what I'm saying. They're going to come out to me and make sure that I have to uphold my end of the bargain. They have to uphold theirs. Native Americans don't pay taxes. They don't pay taxes. Matter of fact,
let me make it clear.
But hold on, let me finish. Let me just say this one thing. You did this debate. I mean, you did not debate, but you did this video, and you said, "What are Black women going to do?" Because Trump just took, limited the what is it?
Government assistance.
Government assistance, exactly. But guess what? Guess who was exempted from this? Native Americans. They didn't get any. None of this stuff affects them. So of course you have, or you. So of course you don't feel this type of restraint. However, for me and my people, yes, we have to stand up and we have to fight. And like I said, for my Dominicans, my sisters and brothers, I believe that the French and the Spanish owes you reparations out there. They don't owe me. They owe you. Okay. My people we are owed money by these people here too, from the Americas and Africa. I'm not leaving them out. They owe us land and reparations as well. So yeah, I get it. You may not feel like you need to fight for it. But my people, like I said, my Haitians, they need to be paid back. And my West Indians, my brothers and sisters, they need to be paid. So yes, and anybody else
Natalie, just to add to it, I'm also African American as well because we have been mixed.
You everything. That's why you're supposed to, stick to
Understand
the
that the Shinnecock Nation have also been mixed with African American. So it ain't. I'm not full.
You gotta pick a side then. That's who you marry.
Let me finish. You finish. I'm not full blooded Shinnecock. All right. My grandfather is though, but I'm not. And so I have African American in me. That's why when I took my DNA, you see African American and you see African. See? So there it is.
Well, you pick a side. Who you marry back into is who you marry back into.
The only side I pick is the black side. Is our side.
All right, well then and see your children. How about this? Your offspring, right?
I'm talking about yo, can I talk?
I'm agreeing with you though, Si. Just let me know with you.
Naphtali is the black nation. And when I say black nation, I'm talking about of the Shinnecock Nation. I'm talking about of African Americans.
That's what I'm saying to you. So you gotta think about your offspring.
I'm not here to separate nothing. I'm not here to separate us.
But hold on, think about your offspring. So your offspring is the next, who is coming up, and you chose to go to the black side. So your offspring.
When I say black side, I'm talking about both. It don't matter.
None of you are just full of what your children check on the box. That's what you check. Hold on, what you check on the box?
That's what they put. You got to go with what they put.
What do you check on the box when they say your check?
Yeah, when you're gonna cry if I turn up. You're gonna cry and run. I want to do that.
Oh, what's that?
I do not want to do that. You're a runner, Naphtali. Please don't do it.
He checks black on the box, but you can check black and still check Hispanic.
That's right.
Well, that's but that's how you differentiate yourselves right there. I don't check Hispanic. So when you check that,
I check black and I check Hispanic.
And that's why I say to you, Apostle, if you my Dominican sister, you supposed to receive.
I'm not just Dominican though. I'm the progeny of African slaves as well.
Well, hold on. But what I'm saying is that so guess what? When you check when you are Hispanic and black, that means that you should receive reparations from the Americans, the French, and the Spanish. That's how you do it. Okay. Now you get paid from who you was enslaved. That's what I got to say. So if you check that Hispanic box, then you add the Spanish to you. That's what you do.
Naphtali, hold on. Naphtali, I told you don't want to go with me because if you really look at it, you are not all the damn thing either. You are a goddamn Israelite. You are Hebrew Israelite. So what
I already told you that I was separating from that.
All right, then. You are not African American. You are an Israelite.
I'm a Bible believer.
Hold on. Are you an Israelite?
No, we are descendants. No, my people are the true
All right, so you don't get no damn reparations either. Stop playing with me. I told you don't do this.
That's according to you, but according to law,
you don't get reparations
when it comes to law.
You're from Israel, Naphtali. You're from Israel.
And I don't run. I actually run towards. I don't run away. So let's get one thing.
Let's let her have the last
word.
No,
I don't run away. I run towards. I don't run away from a fight. As you see, I'm here right now. I'm not afraid.
Right.
But my thing is, like I said to you, what box do you check? You know what you check. You know who you married. You know what you married. You know what they check. And the thing is, if you check in the right box, then you shouldn't have a problem. Okay, you shouldn't have a problem. Like I said, the Haitians had to pay back the French for reparations because they were paid reparations. But I want my Haitians to get paid back from the French. Does that mean everybody needs to get paid from the French? No, but that it's all about your background. So and then so the thing is, You get paid from who had you enslaved. That's what I got to say. You know, everybody got their history. Like right now, we see these fake Jews are trying to get land back. They feel like they deserve, you know, reparations. The same thing with the Ukraine, the Russians in the Ukraine. They want land. Everybody's fighting for theirs. So guess what? We need to stand up and we need to fight for ours.
Thank
And
you.
I'm telling you right now,
Yeah.
we need to first establish who are, you know, who we need to get reparations from. But that's all I got to say. This was a good show. I had fun.
But this is the problem.
Sonetta, Elder Suntan and Sakina are waiting to close
Yeah,
out.
but this is the
Sonetta want to fight me. Sonetta, you can bring me back on. We can have this. No. You can.
when I told you can't let me get it out.
I'm just joking with you. I'm just playing around.
Okay. So Neftali, if we're gonna be real with this, we got to be real all the way. Ain't no half stepping. Ain't no tiptoeing through the tulips. If you claiming Israel, if you claiming that you are an Israelite, then you're not African, then you don't deserve or get reparations either, Neftali. Understand that. That's all I'm saying. Now, if you saying that you are African American, then you go ahead and you fight for your reparations. But if you're claiming Israel, you are from Israel. That's what y'all say y'all from. That's your homeland. Your forefathers is who? Hey, Isaac, right? That's your forefather.
Let me just say this, Sonetta.
All right.
The Israelites claim to be from West Africa, from the slave trade. So it's still the same. Israelites.
No, Nepal, that's not true.
Yes, it is true.
No, it's not true.
That is true. They know that we were enslaved and we were brought over here. That's a part of the story. He hears it all the time, but he doesn't learn.
Many times I ask the Israelites, what were you doing in Africa for you to be on the slave ship? They said they ran into that land. They ran into there running from someone. So they don't claim to be from Africa. And they will tell you they are not Africans. Am I right, Suntan?
Sonetta, you don't have to ask Suntan. I know this very well. So now it's let me say
in a minute.
Let me say this. No. You just
not all, but some will.
Every single Israelite that claims to be a Hebrew that is black says that Israel went into the land. That's the prophecy. But we're talking about the slave trade. So they were Israelites in Africa, and we're talking about getting reparations. So the fact is that they still would be, the topic is getting reparations for slavery. So whether they were Israelites or Native Africans, they were kidnapped from that land, from that region. So even if you are an Israelite, you are an African, you came from Africa on the African slave trade. So you still would be in the reparations conversation.
I would like to show something to make a point real quick.
We went all the way left, Sonetta.
All right, so listen. I know I said earlier, I said you need to go back to who your ancestors were, right? So companies like on the New York Stock Exchange, okay? Like Aetna, JP Morgan Chase, New York, they all made money off of slavery. We're asking the government to give us money that we need to be going to these major corporations, banks, jewelers, insurance companies that funded railroads. All these people made money off of slavery. We're talking to the government. We need to be suing these banks. We need to have a class action lawsuit against these banks for slavery because they're the ones that are running the New York Stock Exchange and generating money off of slavery. That's where we need to go.
Yeah, they are generating money off of slavery, and that's a part of the conversation. But there was a law. I'm not specific on it, but I was listening to Dr. Joy DeGruy and Dr. Antoinette Harrell. There was a law where I think it goes back to the 3/5 law. Oh no, that was for voting. But basically, where we couldn't inherit anything if we were, the so-called, not so-called, if we were mixed, we couldn't inherit anything or lay claim as an heir to the slave master's legacy.
Right.
So we unfortunately there was a law against that. I don't know how that could be, if that could be overturned, But definitely all those banks you showed, they did profit. They 100% profited off of slavery. And so that was an
all the
interesting.
class action lawsuits that are going on for baby Gerber formula, this, that, the other. All you need is a lawyer that, and then a class action, a group of people to say, okay, listen, because rather than us going to the government and saying this, when you have billion-dollar, trillion-dollar corporation banks, insurance companies that generated money off of slavery, that should be the movement.
Okay, thank you. Elder Suntan, did you want to weigh in? I know you've been waiting a minute.
Yeah, we gotta close out in a little while.
Yeah, well, real quick.
We're gonna go around and let everybody say their piece after you
That's
sunset.
what we was doing now.
Yeah, that's what we were doing.
Okay.
All right, listen, y'all. They was talking about how can you, on the part you were saying, how do you establish yourself as yeah. Well, the way that this in my book, the way that this need to be done, and it's really simple. It's just that people got to sit back and just stop, take a breath, and think. All you need is a social security number, and that'll track you all the way back to where you need to go. And my thing is this right here. People, I would rather say that a person should, just like this beautiful conversation we had today. It's like a feel-good moment. When you get off, you can feel relaxed and think, and your mind is open. See, people don't understand through this reparation, we need somebody to talk to. We need psychological help to help us expound ourselves into this money. You understand? You just don't jump to the money. You get your mind together first so you can handle the money. So you got to understand that we have a mental setback that's great, and all Black people have it. That's why it's so much confusion. So before you jump at the money, this is a suggestion. Get a little mental health, a little conversation with a professional who can talk and sit down and talk to, because we don't know, none of us who had a psychological conversation about the situation of Black people and their heritage and their reparations. I don't know that. But what I do know, that's what is needed to go along with the money. You need a little mind control, a little mind comfort from what we've been through. So I'll rest right there. Peace.
Thank you, Suntan. And last but not least, let's go to Sakina Ra.
That was really wonderful. And
I see God's joined the panel.
Thank y'all so much.
Go ahead, Queen.
That was again, that was a wonderful ending, Suntan. And I thank y'all for having me, Brother Sonetta and Queen Nepal. This was a really interesting conversation. I wish I would have joined earlier. I was really just coming home when I got the notification. I'm glad you sent it to me, Brother Sonnet. I'm hoping I can get everything together so I can join maybe some more kind of horse still. But again, far as the reparations, it would be nice to have a little piece of the pie, but I ain't gonna wait on it.
Right.
Right. So, it is well deserved and more so earned. But again, we can't wait on it. Our ancestors have did it. We've built America. The name, I think I saw a build on a Mary. It comes all the way from Kemet. And it was Mary, and then it came from Mary, or Myrrh, which means love, and then it was a Mary, and then it was all the way here in America. It's been discussed all the way, but not so much. But I just love the as above, so below in Kemet. So I do want to shout out to Shemshu Haru and the Shrine of Maya and Tepi Jabari. And again, I love the HOK. I was going through some of my stuff. I found the old computer, and I've been watching for a awful long time, even longer than I thought. And so, listen, I was learning so much. I saw some videos that I just was watching, unpacking, putting my house together. I'm like, oh my God, listen here. So to learn as much as I have learned, again, Sunday and Paul, y'all have really inspired my life so much. So when I say I've been precept by precept, a little here, a little there, y'all have been in my journey. And so I honor y'all for that, honestly. You know, I've met more people in the last few years and not met nobody at all. But the ones that I have physically met on view, I honor you for that. And
We love you, Sakina.
So with that, you know, again, I thank y'all for always having me and always, you know, even inviting me and letting me be a part of HOK. And with
We
that,
love you too.
Yes, thank you. We love you very much. Thank you, Queen. I see that the brother Roy Bay joined us again. I think Dots had come in. So if you'd like to just hold on for a moment, brother, for your closeout, Roy Bay, we'd like to hear from Sister Dots. Thank you.
Hi, y'all. I'll be really quick. I'm sorry. I know y'all closing down, but good night to all. Good evening to all. To your question, and I think Genesis' point about the reparations. I'm sure you guys are y'all all familiar with heirs property?
Say it again.
Is everyone are you familiar with heirs property?
No, I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah. Okay. So heirs. I mean, I wouldn't say it could be seen as a form of reparations in a way, but heirs property basically is like family-owned land that was jointly owned, like by descendants of a deceased person whose estate did not have paperwork, right? Which is the case of many Black families, right? So you live on a land, it's your family home, your family land or whatever, and it's been lost for whatever reason. And there's a myriad of reasons as to why property is lost or taken or what have you, that people are now trying to reclaim. So there's now heir property law centers that has popped up all throughout the South. To deal with descendants reclaiming land that was like illegally seized at one time due to, you know, eminent domain, not having a will, for example, things like that, right? And I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Bruce Beach case. Did everyone hear about?
Yes, I heard of that. And you know what, Dots? Actually, I didn't know what that was called. My family did that in New Orleans. They only had to pay $30 for some land.
Wow.
So I think that's actually, I didn't know what it was called. It's called heirs property.
Heirs property, yes. Yes. I mean, I know you're closing out, and I don't want to hold y'all.
Go ahead. No, this is good information.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting, and I think it's something that everyone should look into. But so the Bruce, actually, you know what? Let me just quickly show y'all. I'll show y'all real quickly. Hold on. Let me share this.
And I hope everybody hit the like button, please, if you're still here.
And by the way, on Wikipedia, they'll show you a list of all the slave owners. I'm not sure if you guys are aware. There's a whole list of every slave owner on Wikipedia.
Yeah. Okay. So you got, okay, because I'm not looking at the screen, so I don't know if y'all see it or not.
I see it. And you know, there's a brother who did a documentary on this. Are you familiar with him?
No, I'm not. There's actually a lot of people that have been successful in reclaiming land, right? That was like illegally seized, and for whatever the reason, we just don't hear about it, but it's happening, right? So, but Bruce Beach tends to be one of the more famous cases. It got a lot of publicity and whatnot, but just because of the location and it's prime property, right? So basically, California had returned land that was seized from Willa and Charles Bruce in 1920 to their heirs last year as part of its reparations policy.
Wow.
A Southern California beachfront property that was taken from a Black couple through eminent domain a century ago and returned to their heirs last year will be sold back to LA County for nearly $20 million. So basically, they were able to get the land that their great grandparents had bought and apparently wanted their heirs to receive, but it was taken through eminent domain because where Bruce Beach is located is considered prime property, right? So when even it took them almost a decade to do and be successful with this case, And one of the reasons why it gained even more, I think, the reason why it became more popular is because the heirs, after reclaiming the land and getting all the property back, they decided to sell it back to LA County for $20 million. Right. But that's just one of the more famous cases that's happening. But it's many people that have been successful in doing this. And now all throughout the South, I'll stop that. And I'm going through this quick because I know it's late and I know you guys want to shut down. But I just want people to understand that there's heir property law centers, especially throughout the South. And the overall goal was created to assist people, to assist descendants, heirs, or what have you, with reclaiming land, right? You'll hear many people say, oh, my grandfather or great-grandfather, great-grandmother was in Alabama and they owned however many acres of land, but over time it was lost, right? And around 1910, I think they said like Black Americans owned approximately 14 million acres of land, right? Which was considered the peak of land ownership, of our land ownership. But from like 1910 to today, there's been about a 90% decline, which is over $300 billion. Just imagine that number, right? And it's like, so what happened? And we know there's many reasons for that. So now you have this, in the 1910s, you had this like Black exodus. So you have many families from the South leaving their land, leaving the South, coming north, right, for greener pastures, better jobs, better opportunities, or what have you. But today you see the opposite, which is, happening, in which now Black families, right, are relocating, trying back to the South, trying to get land, right, and living off it like we used to do a century ago. Like, growing up in the 80s, I remember, I grew up in a multi-generational household. I had my grandmother, my aunties, my cousins, and it was a small project apartment, right? But it was a multi-generational kind of thing. But that was never considered the blueprint for success, right? And so there was always heavy messaging and like propaganda when you go to school, what was on the commercials, etc., that being successful looked like leaving your family home, getting your own, right? Like going to school, getting a quote unquote job, and sort of worrying about yourself. But then today it's like you wake up and you realize, oh, I've been fooled, right? We're realizing that we've been fooled, right? And now people want to sort of return back to the old way. So history has a way of repeating itself, And so all I would say is, I know that I definitely enjoyed parts of the conversation that I heard, but let's not get into fear at all, right? We do operate under a system. We do operate under a structure that wasn't made for us or by us. We know that, but we have always survived, right? So we don't need to give into that fear. We're going to be more than okay because we've always been. It's in our blood. It's who we are just as a people. You know what I mean? So that's it. That's all. I just want to say that. So heirs property for anybody who may need assistance or want to look into that. I suggest that's definitely a good resource to start.
That is very excellent information. Again, I never knew what it was called. The brother's name is Enware Burge. His last name is Burge, and yeah, I know of him doing the documentary, but yes, that is very popular. That's in Malibu, right? Around that area, that when you talk about that.
Yeah, it's like in LA, near LA County, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that information. Yes, that is something we need to all look into. Thank you, Sister Dots. And now I think we did all of our closeouts. We're going to, like I said, last but not least, we're going to let Brother Ray, I'm sleepy, y'all. Brother Roy Bay. I know his name, Brother Roy Bay, do his closeout. Thank you for returning. Go ahead, sir.
It's all good, sister. I'll be Brother Ray for the next 30 seconds.
No, you won't.
Listen, earlier, so I made reference to voting for the devil. That was really a generic term to describe. That's the term that we have used since the 1960s that came out of the Nation of Islam. But we've also voted for a lot of presidents, the Clintons, the Joe Bidens, the Nixons, and Johnsons. So that's all that was about. That was a generic term. But as always, my good brothers and sisters, you guys have been very informative. The conversation was well structured. Thanks to Sonetta's TV and the Mighty House of Consciousness, still banging after many, many years, man. Still banging. I appreciate that. Brother Sonetta, keep up the good work. As always, my love, honor, and respect for you. But economics, y'all, is what this is all about, whether it's here or abroad. Brother Malcolm used to say that travel broadens the mind. And this is why earlier I made reference to us as being constipated, because we have a level of constipation in our relationship with the United States of America, which is the country of our birth. But at the same time, if you look at our people's travels over the last 60, 70 years, we haven't really done much traveling. And the traveling that we have conducted has been about vacation trips, not even to places like Africa where we can learn something, but places that we can go to and have fun. And right now, the climate is set that there's at least 10 countries, maybe more, but 10 countries indefinite, who really want to have a conversation with what is called the African American community with regard to what we have learned, how we can fit into that society, gain citizenship there while maintaining it here. Because, the truth is, well, at least in my personal opinion, the United States of America and all of our opposition here would take our people a lot more serious once we start to connect our struggle here to the struggles abroad. This is what Dr. King was despised for when he tied the war on poverty here to the war in Vietnam. So we have to think a lot more broader than what we have and implement that broadness so that we can ascertain economic and political gain. The Prophet Noble Drew Ali said there is the one issue for them to be recognized, and we want recognition. Now, that recognition comes by way of other things, but it also entails everything. So, if we don't have a unified dollar, we would end up back at square one as individuals working for their corporations again, and we will be subject to a 40-hour work week until they decide again to lay us off or kick us out of the economy. We must form our own economy. That is the only way out for us, our economy and how we are classified and identified here and abroad. And I think that will be a stone on the pyramid, if not the complete capstone. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you so much.
Peace, my brother.
Okay. Sonetter, thank you to everyone. I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful night. And Sonetter, you have the mic.
Yeah, I wanna thank everybody for coming through, showing love and respect once again to the HOK. Misunderstood. Elder Suntan, Genesis, Sakina Ra, Queen Neftali, Dots, of course, my brother Roy Bay. Seven Assault came through. Am I missing anybody?
Empress.
Oh, yes. Empress Sekhmet.
Herman Smalls.
Sekhmet, Herman Smalls, yes, came through. So I want to thank y'all for coming through. What we got coming up, this was supposed to be tomorrow, but Brother Sanchez's mother came into town, and he don't want to go live while Mom's is in town. I agree with him. He want to spend time with Mama. And so we will be getting this in next week, Monday. This will be next week, Monday. Captain Zariak and Brother Sanchez. Important conversation and discussion is rap music, the cause of violence. But that's not going to be the only topic. It's going to be other subtitles in there. I'm just waiting on both of them to come up with the rest of the titles. So it's going to be subtitles in there. And it's rap music, the cause of violence. So I think that's going to be a hot subject. That's going to be fire right there with Captain and Brother
Yeah, send me the plugs, huh?
Yeah, no doubt. You already know. And so with that, Nepal, pass the mic back to you.
All those rappers are unalived from violence.
Not all of them.
I'm not finished getting my whole sentence out. Except for the one in the middle, the one I forgot his name, the Mexican one. But the rest of them are all
no, and then
and then, of course the one Little Dirk, right?
Yeah.
Little Dirk, yeah.
Right.
Dang, Sonetter.
Yeah, so that's why I said violence. I was gonna put all of the ones that died of gunfire, but then I said it's about violence too. So all of them ain't gotta die from gunfire. They could be pulling hits and calling hits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
it's interesting.
Yeah, that's gonna be good. Oh, I mean, bye-bye, everybody.
Please, God.
Peace out,
Thank
everybody.
you. Bye, Paul. See you.
Bye, Misunderstood.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for being here. Bye, Genesis. Bye, Naphtali and Sakina and Elder Santan and everybody. Thank you for being here. We love you. Yeah, this was good. It wasn't. And Sister Wise, you didn't mention her, did you?
Oh yeah, Sister Wise. No.
It wasn't like I thought it would be. It wasn't as fiery.
Hey, wait, Sister Nepal, I'm gonna
Yes,
talk to Sonetta right quick. Listen,
please.
brother Sonetta, you know, the importance of these type of conversations is that, so I realized a few years ago, and I was shocked to realize that there was a growing community, equally as big as the conscious community. And in some aspects, it even got bigger than the conscious community. And it's because this subject matter is deeply concerning in our community in every aspect, every level, and it's a broad conversation. And we need to tackle these things a lot more. A lot of people in the Moorish Science Temple of America, they're afraid to have this conversation because of religious beliefs, and you're supposed to be a Muslim brother or a Muslim sister. So they keep quiet on these issues, which I think is a detriment to all the organizations collectively, because if our people outside these movements are having these issues and we're not, tending to the issue in the manner that we should, then I don't see how we can uplift fallen humanity when humanity amongst us is constantly falling apart due to these issues. The Nation of Islam, a lot of them brothers over there, don't fool yourselves. They have a position as well, even though they continue to scream, respect and protect the Black woman. The gender war is real with us. The Hebrew Israelites, they'll deal with it, but we have become so sensitive to where we don't want to address these issues. Sister Nepal, like you said, I think a few days ago, it's very important. We're not really here to hurt each other. We're actually looking for a solution and a resolution, you see? But if we ignore this stuff now, can you imagine where we're going to be as time moves on? We're only going to sink further and further. And so tonight's conversation, believe it or not, as you can see from what the sisters and brothers are saying, they are pleased with the attitude and the sentiment that came out of tonight's conversation. And, it gives hope. It inspires people that, we're not as divided as we appear to be. So we can pull together and get back on track, but it has to start with the nature of positive, meaningful dialogue. And we have to continue to tap the throttle. Now, Sa, the good thing about your show, you take on everything. You don't hold back. That's been your history. I'm saying to you, come one, come all. Let's have this conversation. And this is one thing that no one could ever take from the House of Conscience. And for the people who don't know, this platform has really launched a lot of platforms. This is the home base and the true foundation. Everybody had to come through the House of Consciousness if they wanted some recognition. Everybody had to come through the House of Consciousness, not to sit on the black couch in this house. I've been on the black couch. I had some fish and grits at one time. It was all good. You know what I'm saying to you? But everyone came through this platform, and now that they started their own little platforms, they want to act as if though this is not the mother and father, the foundation that allowed for them to come forth before the world, when this is the home sweet home for everybody, whether you're still here or not. But one thing I must say, the platform has grown. I look up, and so I remember this platform when it was a lot more smaller. I look up, and the platform is growing, continues to grow. Sonetta is still standing here like the test of time. He's looking like a pyramid right now because only the pyramids kind of last as long. You know what I'm saying to you? But the conversation, brother Sonetta, we must have more of these conversations. And in order to get something out of it, it has to be structured to whereas we don't overtalk each other. It's, there's respect maintained. And, folks can state what they think, what they feel, what they believe. And we got to come out of it with a solution, but then implement the solution as well so we can get this monkey or this demon up off our back, because they ain't never going to stop with us. So, let's make preparations for a better tomorrow. Peace.
Thank you, Brother Roy Bray. Appreciate that. Appreciate them kind words, brother.
All good.
And everything you said was true. Thank you, brother.
Thank you so much for that.
All right. And we out of here. With that, we out, Nepal.
Peace and
Blessings,
peace
everybody.
to the darkest minds in the light. Thank you. That was beautiful.